So, good evening everybody and welcome along to another edition of RRC's Friday Night Racing as we arrive at Le Castellet in France. What a race this looks like it could be. After Monza last week we saw very few cars finish, but those cars that did finish gave us one hell of a race. So what sort of thing can we expect here this week then? As I said, a full grid this week, 20 cars on track. It looks very promising. So as we enter Q1 and the first qualifying session of the day, who will be on pole come the next 45 minutes, we shall see. So here at Le Castellet there are 15 turns in a total of 3.63 miles as you drive your car through the long straights and the tight chicanes of this circuit de Paul Ricard. So it's a brilliant win last week for the real DC. Looks to build on that then as we go into this round. As we see a few drivers there starting their out laps, we shall hop on board. So as I said, 15 turns in this beautiful circuit. A lot of asphalt though on the outside. I mean, it doesn't punish you as much as other tracks if you make a mistake, but as always you need to be concentrating throughout the entirety of this lap time then. We're right on board with Dragon on Speed, who will be setting the first lap times to come up then through the second of the long back straights in sector 2, starting sector 3, coming up to what is the long right hander at turn 10, and then a tight braking zone, this one on the right hand side for turn 11. The lap record here then at the circuit de Paul Ricard is a 1:32.7. that was set by Sebastian Vettel about 2 or 3 years ago. As you come up into this nice twisty back session there through the last corner of turn 11, down then onto the back straight. You're riding on board with Dragon on Speed. What sort of time will this be from the Alpha driver? One of those 6 that gave us a very tight contest in the last race. As he comes down then in towards the chicane of 1 and 2. Up now through into turn 3 then. Giving it nice and tight to the apex on the left as you look to open your car up on this little bit of exit for turn 4. You're allowed a little bit of leeway in terms of track limits. You can take a lot of that curb before invalidating. You want to flick the car right before you flick it left onto this first of the back straights, and the first time we see DRS in this session. Look out for a lot of overtakes as you approach this chicane of 6 and 7 through the chicane Nord, as it's known to the French locals, and we come up then through the ligne droite du Mistral. Very French names that I won't even attempt to make later on. Up through turn 7 then. Give it nice touchy brake about the 50-metre board for the twisty deceiving right hander. Up through turn 12 up to the left hander of 13. You're right on board with Dragon on Speed in the Alfa Romeo. So we come up now towards the back section of this track. Coming around now the final few turns, shifting it down nice and tight. Oh, he's very wide on the exit though of that final turn 12. He comes across the line, DRS open. What time is it from Dragon? So there we go, 1:32.1, our first lap time of this session. Who's that behind him in the Haas? They are just starting their lap, but we're about to see a few cars cross the line. What sort of times will they be? Puppy, a 1:33. Maverick goes second, a 1:32.1. Just 400 stead in his partner Alfa Romeo goes a 1:31.7. So already we're seeing times about 4 or 5 tenths faster than his teammate Jack. 1:35.5 in that McLaren. He sits currently in 5th. What about Nismo as he comes around the final corner? Time to beat so far, a 1:31.7. But remember, it's not always about being on pole in this qualifying session. It's just whether or not you can make it through those final 5 places. 16th to 20th will be gone come the end of these last 13.5 minutes. But that first pole position of the session gives you that psychological advantage going into the final 2 sessions. Good lap there from Nismo. That puts him into P4. Gavlar P5 then, a 1:33.3. What about the rest? Jason Woodhouse on his lap then. Into the chicane. Keeping it nice and tight on the left. You're allowed to take a little bit of curb. Bit slight lock up there, but allows him to come a nice tight line through up towards this long looping right-hander of turn 11. Let's come down now. You see there the brake boards on the left-hand side. Use about the 54 this tight turn 12. We've got yellow flags in sector 2. That's just Nismo. I think letting other drivers pass. Nice and tight, clean exit from Jason then in this Red Bull. Shifting through, look out for Devil's Nightmare in the Ferrari behind. He's also on a lap. You don't want to get too close though, or you might collide. It's always a worry in qualifying as we come through the final few corners then, right on board with Jason, and watch out for Devil's Nightmare. Just finding very, very harsh braking from Jason. He goes wide on the exit then, and that'll allow Devils to get a tow. What sort of times will these two set? So Jason goes 8th on a 1:33. Devils up to 4th with a 1:32.7. Good lap from Devils there, and Jason unfortunately locked up quite a bit on that lap, and that has meant he only goes into P8, but there are still 11.5 minutes left in this session, so plenty of time to improve. If this is your first week you are tuning in to FNR, let me remind you there are 2 divisions that run on this day. We have our Gold League and our Silver Division. This is Silver Division, where they only use the preset setups provided by the games. It allows for a more equal playing field. And then our Gold Division, where it is full setups. We both run 50% races, and each one has obviously their own drivers' championship. So see, Regan has gone top of the timesheets then with a 1:31.6. Very good lap from him then. He was quick in the practice before this race. As we go back on board, Apex moves up into 5th. As we start to see Mono, Cyro have set times. Not good enough at the moment for the top 10, but they are safe at the moment. We see a few drivers yet to set them on board with Tristan as he comes round through the final sector, coming in to turn 14 and 15, so it's through turn 13 into 14 then. Keeping nice and tight on that left hand side as we approach the final corner, shifting it down into first for extra traction on the exit. Allows you to put your power as you short shift up through 3rd and 4th, going speeds of 180 as you cross the line. So it's P5 for Tristan then, a 1:32.3. that puts him safely in the top 10. Toon Fan is on his front. He goes fastest in sector 1 then, a 25.4 from the Ferrari driver. He was unlucky last week and he invalidates his lap then, going a little bit too wide on the exit of turn 5. Screwed him up for 6, and in turn 7 he invalidated his lap. Look out for a lot of overtakes down here into the braking zone 4, 8 and 9. Remember, you've got DRS and tow speed that allows you to gain a few horsepower, but just make sure you manage to make that corner. What about Rainer and Alex then? Alex, your championship winner from last week, finishing quite handsomely. Not the real DC, I do apologise, it was Alex that won. I get confused a few times between different races here at RRC. So Alex then on his flying lap, what sort of time can we expect from your championship winner then as he comes down towards turn 8 and 9? Keeping it nice and tight as you stick close to that right hander, back on the power through the exit of turn 9 up towards the long-winded turn 10. He goes purple in sector 2 then. Will this be a pole position lap for Alex at this moment in time as we've got 8 minutes and 55 seconds left in this session? Oh no, he's gone very wide on the exit. The back end did not like that, sticking out through turn 14 then. As he backs off the lap at turn 12. You can see there are little marker boards, help the drivers know their braking points, but also what turn they're at. So he has backed off his lap after going purple in at sector 2. So we see the real DC then on his lap coming through turn 10. Keeping it nice and tight. You want to be a little bit wide on the exit. That allows you to fully rotate the steering wheel through this twisty right hander, back on the power. Can run a little bit wide as we've seen already. Shifting down into 3rd through the tight apex of turn 12, back on the power up towards turn 14. Remember, 13 is that slight right-hander you've just seen. Not a challenging corner, but one, if you are going too fast or in the wrong way, you will lose a lot of time. A little bit of a kick there from his rears out of turn 15 as we come across the line, and it's a 1:31.2 then from the real DC. Here goes top of the timesheets and looks like he will be safely through to Q2, but as we know, with the track evolution here, anything can happen. So we look a few times yet to settle out. Toon fan invalidated. Alex backing off. Rayner yet to release on the pit, so we'll jump on board with LH as we see he's gone purple through that sector 1, then coming down towards turns 8 and 9 in the Mercedes. Let's come down now through this looping right on the chicane up towards turn 10, hitting speeds once again of about 170, 180 miles an hour. Purple in sector 2 for the Mercedes driver. Can he keep this up for the rest of the lap? We shall see. A lovely camera angle there of just that, how looping that right hand is. It doesn't quite give you the depth perception when you're in the car, and it all of a sudden just appears on your right and is almost blind at times. We're riding on board with LH as he comes through turn 14 and the final 2 corners of this lap. Current lead real DC is a 1:31.2, but as long as he is up in front of 60, there you go, 1:32.4 from LH puts him in P8. Well above P16. Currently at risk are Steve, Jack, Toon, Alex and Rayner. Remember, Alex and Rayner yet to set a lap time in this session though. As we see a few drivers coming out for their second lap, those are like Nismo, Puppy, Jason. Cyro's out again, but he's obviously, you can see there, invalidated his lap time, so pulling to let the other drivers through. We see Toonfan then coming out for his out lap. He's coming around turn 12 in towards turn 14. We'll stay on board with Toonfan then as we come out of turn 14, braking for that right hander of turn 15, then back on the power. This is Toonfan in the Ferrari. 5 minutes and 42 seconds left in this session. Let's come down now in towards turn 1. Apex doing well to stay clear of him. It's the pit lane exit, very wide there though on the exit of turn 2. Means he is a little bit out of shape as he comes towards 3 and 4, where it's very tricky at times to flip your car right and then left again unless you are in the right gears. Remember, you're allowed a little bit of leeway on the runoff of turn 5 as you come out through 6, almost full speed through turn 7, then onto the back straight. DRS pops open then. Let's go down this long-winded straight towards turns 8 and 9, braking on about 125 meters out from the corner. Late downshift there from Toon, taking a lot of the curb on the right hand side as he flicks the car back to the left hand side of the track again for his approach in towards turn 10. Goes purple in sector 2. Seen a lot of purples in from these drivers at the moment. Braking a little bit late for the corners. You see he runs very wide on the exit of turn 11 down, though back on the power for this left-hander at turn 12, but again goes very deep into the corner under braking and loses the rear very handsomely there, but manages to keep it going through 13 into 14. We are on board with Toonfan then. A little bit wide once more, but he's got the apex right for turn 15 and he comes then across the line. A 1:34 needed then to stay clear, but it's only a 1:33, so he goes clear just about in at P14. That puts Cyro in to the elimination places. What can Alex do? He is still in the pit lane. Rayner on an outlap as well. We've got yellow flags once more for that sector 2 chicane. Drivers lane each other through though, so nothing to worry about at this stage. As we see the real DC thinking he's done enough to get through this session then, so he retires and stays in the pit lane. What can everybody else announce? We're on board with Monopon as we come through turn 4 then, currently in a P15 and at risk on that 1:34.0. He needs to find a few tenths to get up into there. Remember, you can see P11 1:33.1, P15, a 1 at 34.0, so almost a second separating those at risk and those what you would assume will be safe. But once again, track evolution at play as they come through turn 8 and 9 on board with Mono Pono in the McLaren as we come up towards the long-winded turn 10. Concedes 3/10 up on his best time so far. Is this going to be good enough from Mono? Come nicely through turn 11, sticking tight to that right hand apex as you come up towards turn 12. A little bit harsh on the braking and gear shifts though from Mono, as you can see, slightly out of shape on the exit, but managed to get that car going once again as we come towards turn 14. Very, very wide though on that entry, has mucked him up for turn 15, but he managed to catch the apex well. He's got the traction in, being in first gear as we come across the line with Mono. It's only P15 though, because he is 4/10 down. Who's that? Rayner then. Rayner's crossed the line. He has gone up to P4, a 1:31.8. So his effort good enough to take him into the top 5. He will be probably going around again though. Keep an eye on him with just under 2 minutes left in this session though, as Toonfan retires in P15. What's happened there? Or has he run out of time to get around this track? That's what I would assume. So he is at risk. Mono on another lap. What about Steve? What can he achieve as he comes through turn 14? Very, very wide through turn 15, but he gets that car shaped back down the straight and comes across the line into P15. So Steve has knocked Toonfan out of this session, but he himself remains in danger. Only manages a 1:33.9, 4/10 off Puppy ahead of him. What about the others, Cyro and Jack? Jack invalidating his outlap already. Oh, Cyro hits the wall, and wow, what a crash there. What a crash from Cyro. He is out of this session. You can see the physics of this game going a dream there, as he has gone massively, massively wide. What about everyone else? As we see a Ferrari off in Sector 1, that's Devil's Nightmare. He is P10 though, so he looks like he is safe for now. 45 seconds remain in this session. At risk, Steve, Mono, Jack, and your championship leader, that guy Alex, stays in the pit lane. He will not be setting a lap this qualifying session. What has happened there, I do not know, but he will not be any better than that as Steve goes up to 14th then. Devil's Nightmare retires from 15th. Where has he crashed? He's crashed coming out of turn 7 then, so he's lost it exactly where Cyro did, and he will not be taking part in Q2 should he get through. Mono then out in 17th. Jack on a flying lap with just 6 seconds left. Is he going to be able to cross the line in time as he comes? No, he does not. So Jack unfortunately does not make it out of this session. We have lost both McLarens then. Toonfan is out. Cyro, you saw, drastically hitting the wall, and Alex unable to set a lap time in this session. I wonder whether that is technical issues or not. So there we have it, a surprise already here at Le Castellet in France, as your championship winner for the silver division is out and will start from the back of the grid. You can see the real DC there setting the fastest time of this session, a 1:32.1. he was 4/10 clear of Regan. Stead and Dragon both in the top 5 for the Alfa Romeo teams. Arena up in a P4. Very, very good session for a lot of those. Jason done well in a P12 then. He got a 1:33.4. Is he on a quicker lap, or is he invalidated? No, he has invalidated then. So there we have it then. Q1 is over and done with. We have lost the first 5 drivers from elimination, but make that 6, because as we saw on the minimap, Devil's Nightmare lost it coming out of turn 7 and will not take part in Q2, so he will start 15. That is the back 3 rows dealt with. So what about as we head towards Q2 then? Q2 is all important for setting your race strategy. As far as I am aware, there is no rain forecast for this race. which means that if you set your fastest time on the mediums, you will start on the mediums. If you set your fastest on the hard or soft, it will be likewise. So where would we see everybody going in terms of strategy? I would expect that a lot of drivers would like to go a medium hard strategy. I believe it's a 26 lap race here, so that would be about 14 or 15 laps on those mediums, maybe even less, and then the hards will go to the end, you would assume. But as we've seen before here on a Friday night racing, that anything can happen in races. That includes safety cars, VSCs, intermittent weather conditions. As we go down the grid then to confirm that we have lost your championship winner, that guy Alex, Jack, Cyro, Monotune and Devil's Nightmare, who we saw had crashed and retired from this session. As we have a few moments pause between now and Q2 then. Remember, not only did Alex win the championship last weekend, we also saw Mercedes crowned the Constructors Champion. As I said, we have two divisions here, and the way the Constructors work is that the 4 drivers across both divisions all combine their points for that title. So from our division, Rainer and LH have scored enough points alongside both Elliot and Ben in the top gold tier. And then what we see in Q2, we're about to find out, as we see a few drivers taking the early gamble to go out. You can already see a few strategies being looked at before they've even left it. You can see hards on 3 of the cars, softs on 3 of the cars, the rest opting for those mediums. Who is first on track? I believe once again Dragon is first out on track. Whether that is a superstition or not remains to be seen, but he has opted for those medium tyres. So you're on board, he's let the Williams still behind him. Then as we come up towards turns 8 and 9 through this chicane, as I said, one of the key areas to overtake in this racetrack. What can we expect? Look out for those soft tyres though on Rainer and Jason's car. I said the softs round here are quicker by about 2 seconds per lap to the hards, and about 1 second to 1.5 seconds faster than the medium tyres. But once again, tyre degradation here because of the track temperature and the humid conditions can come into play. You can maybe get a few laps out of those before you need to consider whether you want to do a 2-stop with a medium soft, or you want to do a 1-stop from a soft to hard. The medium, likewise, you can get away probably with a medium hard 1-stop strategy, but you can also consider a medium soft for later in the race. Depends how well you can keep your tyres. So on board then with Dragon on speed for the first time lap of this Q2 session as we come out through turn 2 then. Down then in towards turns 3 and 4. Could be nice and tight on the left hand side as you open the car out. Coming out through turn 6 towards the flick that is turn 7. Stay nice and wide on your exit, gives you in prime position for this braking zone at turns 8 on 9. You can see they're braking about 125 meters, shifted down into 4th gear for Dragon on speed. So we come up into sector 2, it's a 53.6 on those mediums, so not too far from the sector times of the softs that we've seen already this qualifying session. Welcome along to Nathan. Thank you for tuning in. as we are on board with Dragons. He comes around turn 14, then on towards the back straight at turn 15. ERS a little bit premature to run out then as he comes across the line. It is a 1 minute 32.3, so very good time there from Dragon. We've seen the 1:31.2 from the real DC on this soft tyres in that first Q2, so just a second disparity between those two times. Who will be next across the line? Nismo, a 1:35. LH, a 1:33 on the hard there. So as I said, LH opting for those harder tyres. So we can already see a few different strategies. Who's that? That's gone P2. That is Tristan, a 1:33.2. So very good time from him as well. He is almost a second behind Dragon though. So we see the first third of the grid already set a lap time within these first 5 minutes of this 15-minute Q2. Remember, again, it's not about making P1 just yet, but you want to be in that top 10 for the all-important pole position shootout. Welcome along to Ashley, as Nismo is P7, then Gavlar's gone into P6. Puppy on those harder compound as well, he's gone P5, so good showing from the two hard runners so far. LH then only a few tenths off Tristan. Stead once again for the Alphas into the 1:32s. He's gone to lock out what would be the front row with his teammate. Very good team battle that has been this year. What about Jason? He's looking at those softs potentially. Yet to see Rayner set a lap, but as you can see, he's about to come round to start his then. What can he muster on those yellow walled medium tyres as we go on board with one of your constructor drivers champions for this year, approaching the left right of turn 1. Nice and tight to the apex, allows you a nice clean line up towards turns 3 and 4. Remember the time to beat so far, a 1:32.3 set by Dragon with the first lap of this session. So we can see the 5 remaining drivers yet to set a time are on their outlaps or better. So it's purple for Rayner as he comes down the long straight approaching turns 8 and 9. Lovely camera angle then as we come round the right hander, back on the power through turn 9. Purple once more, 54.0 for the Mercedes driver as he comes round the long right hander. Keeping nice and tight, allows you for a wider exit and then a tighter line once more through 11. Got a little bit of traffic in front of him, but should be a clean run through 13 towards the end of this lap. Then needs a 1:32 to take the top of the timesheets, but he just needs to be in the top 10, remember, at this moment in time. Comes round the final corner, gain a little bit of a toe from the Williams in front. What time will this be from Rayner? It's 1:32.6, so he goes and splits the Alphas then, a 1:32.601 for Rayner. Will we see him again this session? 7.5 minutes left. We'll go on board with Apex. Very unfortunate last weekend from him. He collided with Toon in the pit lane, took both of them out the race by accident. He'll be looking to have a better race this week, currently sitting in P3 in the standings. Let's come through the final race in 1:32.8, so he goes into P4 then, just a tenth behind Stead. What will the other drivers do? That's the real DC then. The real DC has gone quickest, a 1:32.1 for the Renault driver. He tops the timesheets. What about Steve, Maverick and Jason? What can they muster? Jason on his outlap. You see the Maverick has invalidated his time, so he will need to get back into the pits quickly and get a fresh set of tyres on possibly, but definitely more fuel. As we're on board with Steve coming out of turn 9 up the second long straight in sector 2. Here goes purple then, a 54.2. but it was not quicker than Rayner's 54.0. So a little bit of a game, as you can see on your left hand side on those time schemes that Stead has gone for a soft tyre choice. Whether he comes out again or not remains to be seen, but he is certainly debating coming out again. You can see Gavlar giving weight to the Haas as he comes through turn 13, then up through 14. Steve currently in 13th place. Comes out the final corner, flicks the DRS button and crosses the line. It's a 1:33.8, so he sits on the cusp of Q3 with 1:33.8. You see the driver above him just 0.2 faster is LH, but LH was on the harder compounds, so potential for him to come back out again. F1 is a favourite of many, I would assume, Ashley. It's very, very good game, except for when Codemasters have their moments. But we have got 5 minutes and 25 seconds left in this session. Two drivers yet to set time. One of those is Jace. You can see the ABS locking up through the final corner as he comes across the line. He needs a 1:33.8 or better. It's only a 1:33.9, so he's gone into P11. He'll need to come out again to try and get into Q3. You see his car there through turn 1 though, not really liking it, going a little bit wide. What about the Maverick? Is he coming back out again? We shall see. Interesting to see if Stead comes out. As I mentioned, Regan's back out for a lap then in the Toro Rosso. His first lap was a 1:33.1. Come around the final corner then as Regan starts his first flying lap here at Le Castellet on the set of tyres. Nice clean run through turn 1, taking a lot of curb on the left hand side. He runs very, very wide on the exit of turn 2, but luckily he hasn't invalidated his lap time as he comes through turn 3 and 4. Lovely onboard angle. You can see how far you have to turn that steering wheel to the right hand side to meet the apex of the corners here at this racetrack. He goes purple in at sector 1, coming out through turn 7 then down the back straight, braking once more, about 75 meters out though for Regan, drifting right round that chicane. Emerges from under the DHL logo. He goes purple in sector 2, 0.6 up on his previous best. That put him about a 1:32.5 if he can maintain this pace through sector 3. Noticed from before that a lot of drivers were talking about their setups for this race. Preset 4 was quite popular. It's 4 wings then, so utilising those long straights, minimising your downforce for that top speed and acceleration as comes around the final corner then. Regan currently in P6, can he improve? He goes up to P1 then, so 1:32 flat for the Toro Rosso driver. Very good. Then he has gone top of the timesheets. I said, asked if he could keep his time ups, and he has. So what pressure does that put on the other drivers? Puppy out for another lap, but he has invalidated, so with just 2.5 minutes to go, he needs to think about going again. You can see Nismo switching to the softer compounds, sacrificing a little bit of strategy at the start of the race to get higher up the grid then. What about the Maverick? He's back out for his set first time lap as he comes out under the sign at turn 10, flicking the car through turn 11 any moment now. You can see keeping nice and tight to that curb, running a little bit wide as always, shifting through into turn 13. You're reaching about 6th or 7th gear as you reach 170 miles an hour. As we approach turn 14 now, on board with the Maverick in the Williams. Nice tight line through that final corner, back on the power to hopefully steady lap time will take him through to Q2. Yes, it puts him into P7, so 1:32.8 for the Maverick then. That puts him just a few tenths above Tristan. He takes a very, very wide line through that first corner. Apex in P6. Out for another lap. Tristan retires from P8. Will that put him at risk? You've got LH back out, but on those medium compound tyres this time. Stee opting for another run on mediums. Jason and Nismo though opting for fresh soft. Look out for their times as we approach the last 50 seconds of this session. It's purple through sector 2 for Apex. You can see in the background one of those red balls on these softer tyres. A very, very wide line through that corner though from Apex as he comes round now through turn 14. Oh, through turn 13, sorry. Round into the final 2 corners then. Needs to beat a 1:32.82, raise higher than 6th and secure his place in this qualifying session. A little bit wide on the edge of around those rumble curbs. It's a 1:32.859, so he beats his time by a thousandth of a second and stays in a P6. We approach the last 5 seconds of Q2. If you're not on a lap now, you will not be getting one. So Puppy, unfortunately, out of Q2 then. What about Stee? Can he improve on his time as he comes round turn 11? Needs to be LH's 1:33.668 to stand a chance. Gavlar not at all safe though, 1:33.255 in P9. Tristan a further 300ths up the road in P8. Steve comes round turn 12 then. As we see a Mercedes, a Toro Rosso pulling wide to let one of the Red Bulls through. That's why you're seeing yellow flags around the final corner then for Steve. Is he going to be faster? Doesn't look like it this time, unfortunately. No, he is out then. He will start in at least P11. Jason unfortunately up but invalidates. He will start from the second 5 places on the grid. What about Nismo? What has he managed in this session? So he comes round turn 14 then into a lot of curb on 15, but it's a nice clean exit as he comes across the line. It's a 1:32.9, so he nips into P8 and that knocks LH out of Q1. Out of Q2, sorry. He will not be in the pole position shootout. His best time just a few tenths too slow. Jason, the one driver left then. So we see Regan at the top of the timesheets for the first time this season. So that is the strategy set for the race. You can see a few drivers on the softs in Q2, but come the race it will only be Nismo that starts on the softs, as Stead opted against coming out then. Everyone else will be on mediums, but look out for LH at the start of this race. He has free tyre choice, having not qualified. That will be an interesting decision he has to make. So there you have it. Regan tops the timesheets of Q2. The real DC not far behind, less than a tenth in fact in P2. Good show once again from the Alphas. They're 3 and 5. Rayner splits them. Apex in 6th. Maverick, that late run puts him into Q3. Nismo will be starting on the softs, but he is in Q3. That's all that matters for him. Tristan and Gavlar just about survive because LH was unfortunately unable to best his time. We see Stay, Jason and Puffy all out, joining Devil's Nightmare, who crashed out in Q1. So this is it. The next 12 minutes are all important for your top 10 drivers. It will determine who starts on the front row and who will have to start a little bit further back and make their way through the field come the race here at Le Castellet. Certainly one that promises to be full of action and overtakes, long straights and harsh braking zones, but there's always opportunities around this track. So will we see Dragon then go out for the first time again as the first car, or will someone else take that gamble, which served Dragon well through these first 2 sessions? But who will make their gamble now? You see Rayner in the Mercedes, looks like he's getting ready to come out with his mechanics then. You see a couple of drivers at the front. That looks like the 2 Williams have gone out onto their flying laps. Maverick beating his teammate out of the pit lane then. Yeah, so it is indeed the Maverick looking to set the first time. There are the Alphas in the background. Stead beating Dragon this time though. Dragon might be looking towards a tow from 3 cars in front of him, ever so slightly from the 2 Williams, but from his teammate more in particular, unless he decides to give him a bit of space. Rayner, the 5th car out on track then, so already half of the grid deciding that now is the time to at least set a banker of a lap time. Who will be on pole? We've got 10.5 minutes left till we know that fact. See a few more drivers then starting out. Tristan, he is out for his flying lap. You can see the Renault behind him there. That is the real DC Apex as well as Regan. So all drivers will be on track in just a few seconds time, as we see on the mini map that the 2 Williams are coming round turn 11, and very shortly they will be starting their flying laps. So we ride on board with Gavlar then, the first driver out on track. Here we go as we come round the left of turn 14 into turn 15. Here is the Maverick going through then. Braking nice and clean for turn 1 and 2. Taking a lot of curb though on the right hand side, did the Williams driver, but he's still got a nice clean run then in towards turns 3, 4 and 5. You've got to keep that car nice and rotated as you come through the right hander. You can run a little bit wide, as I've mentioned already today, through that little turn 5. A lot of the apexes here in Le Castellet slightly wider than what you would imagine. Down in towards turns 8 and 9 then. Coming up through turn 10. You see the Maverick setting purple time, but very quickly that purple is going away, as it looks like Gavlar has gone purple in sector 2. So who will be fast? Lovely shot there. You can see as the 2 Williams following each other in tandem. Come through into the final few turns of this 3.6 kilometer lap. How quick will these times be from the Maverick and Gav? Here we go then. The benchmark for Q1 will be a 1 minute 32.3.2 then from Gavlar. What about the Alphas? What can they imagine? Stead 131.7. Dragon 131.5. Already the times tumbling from the first few cars. What can Rayner muster? Rayner has invalidated his lap, so he will be going again. Who will be next to cross the line after him? It looks like it'll be the Renault of Dan in 52.7 through the second sector. 131.5 the time to beat so far. Comes through turn 13 now. Into the final corner, needs a 131.5. And he goes fastest, it's a 131.2. What about Tristan? What can Tristan do? No, Tristan dives into the pit lane then. He has invalidated his lap. As Nismo comes round turn 12 now. We see Toro Rosso of Apex go into P4 then. What can Nismo muster on his lap time? Comes round into the DRS zone, revving that car through the gears. It is a 1:32.8, so only good enough for P7 at this time. Remember, 3 drivers behind him, yet to set a lap time though. So as we see the first runs in this session done and dusted, usually you can expect drivers to make a gamble at just 2 laps. Rayner though, one of those drivers that likes to gamble a little bit more and go for 2 or 3 laps at a time. So we'll stay on board with the Mercedes driver as he starts his second flying lap of this session. As we come in towards turn 1, the Williams does well to get out of the way into that braking zone. Look out for that in the race. That will be a little bit PBG. And Rayner once again invalidates his lap, this time by running wide at turn 2. That will not do his confidence any good with just 5 minutes and 43 seconds left in this session. So we see the Williams not on track, so a little bit of a glitch there from Codemasters when we saw the Williams there. Not quite sure what was going on, but luckily it did not impede Rayner too much, you would imagine. Regan then on his outlap as he comes up through the chicane of 8 and 9. Nice and tight through the exit, allows a little bit of curb overlay on your exit, means that you can put the power to the floor. Down now through the loop-in corner of 11 into that braking zone on the right hand side. You'll see a lot of drivers coming out to in then. Getting out of the way there, Rayner, as he comes through turn 14, then on board with Regan to start his lap in this Q3 session. 4 minutes and 18 seconds remain then. Here we go. What can the Toro Rosso driver manage? Needs to beat the real DC at the moment. A 1:31.2 was his first attempt in this session. Regan managing to keep his car wide on that exit of turn 2, but without invalidating. Nice and tight through 6, out through 7, and he's invalidated then at turn 7. Not good from Regan there. He will have to dive into the pits and put on a fresh fuel load. Not a very good change of fortunes then. After topping the timesheets in at Q2 on those mediums, he is without yet to set a lap time in this Q3 session. So we can see a few more drivers coming out for their second runs. We have the Williams Toro Rosso of Apex and the Red Bull of Nismo, all in and around turn 5. So Maverick on his fly then, he's 3/10 up on his previous best effort. He comes in towards 8 and 9 then. Out now up the hill towards turn 11 and 10. Keeping that car nice and tight on the right hand side. Up into the second left-hander combination of turn 12. Flicking the car through turn 13. Keeping maximum speed as you approach 14. Braking nice and gently into that corner before the tight sharp braking zone of 15 and the final corner. As you come over the start finish line now on board with the Maverick, he goes into P5. So 1:31.7, an improvement then, but not good enough to break the front 2 rows. They are occupied by the real DC and Rayner Dragon and Stead then. Look out for the drivers, those starting the laps. Nismo, one of those. Apex, another. Nismo currently in at P8 then. It's a little bit wide on the exit of 2. Out now through the nice tight 5, through 6, and then approaching 7. Maverick looks like he has backed off of his lap then. Nismo opting against taking a nice wide line through there. What can everyone else muster? Apex, as he comes up through sector 2, he's 5/10 up on his time in sector 2. Currently in P6. His teammate Regan yet to set a lap time. You can see there just how deceiving that corner is as you approach it. Looks like a long sort of spoon curve, but it sharpens up on you very quickly. Apex needs a 1:31.2 or more to be on the front row. Will this be quick enough for him to break that barrier, or will he improve anyway? It is a 1:31.3, so he is indeed on the front row, but he is a 10th slower than the real DC and won't have enough fuel, I'd imagine, for another lap, especially not ERS either. But Rayner is also on an outlap, Dragon is on an outlap, Stead on his lap as well, currently in P5. What can Nismo muster? No, Nismo has invalidated, so Nismo can't improve on his P8. He will start there. The Maverick is P6. Gavlar will start a maximum of P7. Leaves Tristan and Regan on their flyers, with both unable to set a time so far this session. Can the real DC improve on his time? He is 2/10 up, as you can see there in the top right hand corner, as he comes round the left of turn 12, flicking his car through turn 13, approaching the final 2 corners. His current time is 1:31.2. Can he break the 1:31 barrier, or will he remain on pole? He crosses the line. It is a 1:30.9, so he does indeed go faster. It's a 1:30.958 from the Renault driver. What about those behind him? What can they muster? Stead goes P2, a 1:31.1. So the real DC on the front row, unless he can be usurped by Tristan. No, Tristan goes 7th, a 1:32.0. What can Regan do? Can he go any faster? Dragon and Rayner also on their laps. Time to beat is a 1:30.958, the first sub 1:31 time we've seen today. As Dragon crosses the final corner, then a little bit of a right rear break up, or lock up I should say, as he crosses the line. It is a 1:31.4, so he stays where he is. Rayner goes fastest then, a 1:30.8 for Rayner, puts him on their front row. Regan can only manage a 1:31.0 with his only timed effort, so that means that Rayner, with that last lap, has catapulted himself onto the front grid spot here in Le Castellet, a 1:30.8. Gaining that 10th he needed to beat the real DC, who will start alongside him in P2 then. Regan and Stead lock out the second row. Apex splits the 2 alphas. He is 5th with a 1:31.3. Dragon unable to improve, starts 6th, a 1:31.4. What a qualifying session that was. And as you can see, Rayner will be very happy with that last lap then. That has put him on the front row alongside the real DC. Just a 10th and a half in it in the end. Regan, a 1:31 flat, only managed to get him a P3 then. Stead, Apex, Dragon 4, 5 and 6. Maverick, Tristan, Gavlar and Nismo round out the top 10. So that was a very, very interesting session as we approach this race here at FNR Silver. Remember, your championship winner, that guy Alex, not even involved in the lower echelons of this qualifying session. He starts from P20 on the grid after not even setting a lap time. The one effort he did try and set, he invalidated, so it'll be interesting to watch him throughout this race. Rayner has done well for Mercedes this year and has contributed very highly to their constructors. win. So look out for a strong race from him. What about the real DC alongside him? These two have been nip and tuck alongside Alex all year. So what sort of race will they give us from the start? Just behind them you have Regan, Stead, Dragon and Apex, all within these top 6. So here we go then as we approach this race here at Le Castellet. 26 laps of the 3.63 mile circuit, 15 turns, 20 cars. Who will come out on top in about 45 minutes time? We can see the drivers then leaving for their formation lap, where they aim to get as much heat into those tyres as they can. Go through the starting grid then. Rayner and the real DC on the front row. As you know, Regan and Stead are row 2. Apex, as always, splits the Alfa Romeos in 5th alongside Dragon. Maverick and Tristan lock out row 4. Gavlar and Nismo are row 5. Look out for Nismo off the start though. He is on those softer compound tyres, so he'll have the early speed and traction, but he does have 9 cars in front of him. LH, I said to look out for his strategy then in 11th with those clean slate for tyre choices, and he has gone indeed for the harder compound tyre, so that'll allow him to go on a longer first stint. Steve, Jason and Puppy all going for the mediums. Jason doing well to make Q2 for the first time this year. Unfortunately his soft time was invalidated, so he wasn't able to improve. Devils, after crashing, will be 15th alongside his teammate DSG Toonfan. Opting for the hards then, 4 of the last 5 drivers, Mono and Cyro. Cyro lucky to be in this race after that huge crash coming out of turn 7. Jack Blunt, and finally the surprise package of that session, Jack Blunt, that guy Alex, starting at the back of the field. You can see a Ferrari stuck on the start line there. Looks like it's Devil's nightmare. Unfortunately unable to get the hit into his tyres from the formation lap, so the initial getaway will not be as anticipated. So what sort of drive can they all muster up today? 27 laps in fact will be this race distance. We're looking at about 81 miles in total as the drivers now start to form their grid. Rayner on pole alongside the real DC. Regan and Stead in row 2 just behind. What a race this looks cracked up to be, as Cyro has left the session. Cyro seemingly having some technical issues then. He is P18 for the moment in time. But as we see the lights about to come on then, as we look to start here at Le Castellet. There they are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights, and we are racing then here in Le Castellet. Very good start from DC then. You can see quick off the line, he's side by side with Rayner as they head down towards turn 1. You can see almost 3 abreast. Regan just behind these 2. Dan is very wide there from Rayner on the exit, and DC is up into the lead of this race. Regan having a poor start. He has dropped back to P6. Who's that penalty? Gavlar, a 5-second time penalty for a collision. That will be added to his time at the end of the race. He's had a poor start. He's down in 19th. Stead caught out once again. He is in P19. Mono going severely wide. He drops as well. So what a start for the Real DC then. He's already pulled out 6 tenths on Rayner behind. Look out for Dragon as they come towards one of the first real opportunities at this track. You can see there side by side 2 Toro Rossos in the background. That looks like Apex and Nismo. So a bit deceiving there with the colours, but see how they've made it through. Who is the early gainers then? So it looks like Super Steve, what a brilliant blinding start from him. He's up 8 positions then to P4. Dragon is up to the podium paying positions, but this is only lap 1. There's still 26 laps to go. Maverick drops to P6. Regan, one of the big losers, gone down to P2s. We've got yellow flags in sector 3 then. That's for Rayner. So Rayner has gone wide for the second time on this opening lap. He's lost 2 positions. Dragging up speed, moves up to P2. You could see Rayner went a little bit wide. I wonder if he's got wing damage, but he hasn't. A Devil's Nightmare. Devil's Nightmare has retired from the race. What's happened there? You can see there is a Ferrari somewhere around there, but unfortunately Devil's Nightmare is out of this race and a VSC is out then. What a frantic start, and we've already lost one driver then. Gavlar is into the pits, presumably to change that front wing from early contact. Real DC leads Dragon on speed. Rayner, our pole sitter, down to P3. Stay, brilliant start, up to P4 then. As we see Devil's Nightmare, unfortunately, the first retirement of this Grand Prix. Remember, DRS doesn't open till the 3rd lap of the Grand Prix. They wave yellow flags. Rayner hoping to jump Dragon on speed through this early section. But what a start. I haven't even noticed and mentioned that guy Alex, the championship leader, started in P20, already up into P11 and on the cusp of the points. He is on the alternate strategy then for the harder tyres. If he can get those to about lap 15 or 16, he'll have a very good chance of one stopping with the mediums. I'm hearing that Puppy was involved with Devil's Nightmare in that instance. As we said, we didn't have it. So we've got another yellow flag in sector 3. Who's that for? That looks like the Maverick has retired then. So the Maverick has hit the wall and has retired from this session. You can see just on the left the stricken Williams then. So he has hit the wall in sector 3 and is out of this race. Who is that making a move down the inside? That's Stead trying to get the inside of Puppy through turn 13. To come in towards turn 14. Real DC starts lap 3. That means DRS is open for the first time in this race. These back markers, or these back drivers, yet to use it. Regan makes a move on Stee into turn 1. Oh, and there's contact, and Stee is round, and Tristan's hit Stee. Tristan has hit Stee. There was contact. That looks like it's given Tristan damage. He will be, you can see, missing a front end plate. That's dropped Stee all the way back down to the back of this pack. He also has front wing damage, so he will need to pit there. Nismo cutting this chicane. Now that's Jason, sorry, Toon Fan, losing out to Regan following their contact, but he's back down the inside through turn 6. He's come through turn 7 now. What about at the front of the grid? DRS was open, but Rayner just outside. As we see, Regan is dropping the positions. What has happened to him? He has gone wide out of 7. Looks like he's lost a bit of front wing from hitting the wall. Yes, he has. So he will have to pit, and the safety car is out then. It's taken 3 laps and a VSC, but we see a safety car here in Le Castellet. What a start for the Real DC it was, but his gains will be neutered now by this safety car period. We can see a few drivers though. Will they stay out on those medium compounds, or will they be coming in for the hards? I think it's a little bit too early myself, but look out for Nismo in at P4. He is on the softer compound and they won't take him aside. You see Dragon then diving into the pits. I did say that you might gain a little advantage by going onto those harder tyres now, and going on the soft towards the late would be the rest of that strategy. Who else is in? Yes, Nismo on the softs is in. Tristan needs to replace that wing, so he is in. Apex opting for a stop as well with the safety car out. Regan retires from the session. So what has happened to Regan as he retires? Where has he retired? It looks like he's hit the pit wall. So Regan has hit the pit wall and is out of this race then. Regan will not take part any further after hitting the wall coming out of turn 7. His car has retired in the pit lane. You can just about see it there at the front. So interesting as we see Tyrone makes it back into this session. Glad to see he will be here. What has happened there then? Where is the Real DC? Real DC has spun it! Your race leader, the Real DC, has spun it under the safety car. And he will need to pit then for a new front wing. He's lost it coming out of turn 7 and will need to pit. So that's thrown a spanner in the works for them. LH up to P2 on the harder tyres. Alex up to P3. Started on the back of the grid, already gained 17 places. What a start for Toon as well. In 15th was his grid position. He is now in P4. Jason at the track, he has quoted that he does not enjoy. He is P5 and riding well. Stead is P6. There is the real DC then. Having spun, he is P7 and will drop back, I'm sure, once he pits to replace that. Now, better time than any. Mono, after an early spin, is 8. Jack Blun gained 9 places from the back row. He is P9. So Dragon, the first driver to pit under this safety car, is down in 10th on a fresh set of medium. So he will be 2-stopping, you would assume. Nismo opting for the mediums then. Cyro rejoining the race. Thankfully, he will be there. Tristan had to pit for a new front wing after colliding with Steve, who spun after contact with Regan. So he is P13. Apex is 14th after pitting for the harder tyres. How far can he get those in this race? 23 laps still to go, but I reckon they've got about 18 or 19 laps in them if you manage them well. Gavlar, after a first lap stop, starts to gain back the positions. He is up to 15th. Stee, after pitting and that spin, finds himself in 16th. Puppy is P17 then. So who is in the pit lane? That is the real DC and Mono. So the real DC has to obviously pit for a different ring. And what about Mono? Is that just a strategy change? Yes, it looks like it is. He is opting for those white-walled hard tyres as the real DC comes back out. So what a dramatic safety car for the real DC. Started at this period in P1. He is now at the back of the grid, opting for the mediums. Means he will be 2-stopping till the end of this race then. Cyro, 5-second time penalty for collision with Dragon on speed. That might have cost him a front wing end plate. No, luckily it is safe and sound for now. As we start lap 5 of this Grand Prix, we are behind the safety car following a few incidents. The Maverick first of all going out at turn 11, then Regan hitting the wall of the pits as Mono is given a 5-second time penalty then for exceeding the track limit. Lap 5 of 27. Your biggest movers so far. LH up from P11 to P2. That guy Alex was in P20 when they formed up on the grid. He is P3. Toon Fan up 11 positions. Jason up 8. So where does this race take us now? Rayner, your pole sitter, dropped to P3 after the opening exchanges after running wide a few times, but following the real DC spin then, he is in the lead of this race. As we see the race control notice there, that safety car will be in this lap. What has happened to Toon just there? A little bit of a change of positions where one driver outbrakes himself, nothing too suspicious to worry about. So the Mercedes leads this grid as we come around to start lap 6 of this Grand Prix, which will be the safety car reset start. Remember, DRS will be disabled for the first 2 laps of the post safety car period, so you'll be looking to try and break that second barrier to the car behind. Jason's given a 5-second penalty for colliding with Toon. It didn't look like much on screen, but it's enough for race control to give him a 5-second penalty then. So where does Rayner decide to put pedal to the metal? You can see he's gone very fast through turn 14, then looks like he's going for it now to come round the final corner to start what is lap 6 of 27. You can see already 7 tenths between him and his teammate behind. That guy Alex a further 7 tenths behind LH. What a restart that was for the Mercedes then as they come down into the turn 1. And we see Toon Fan is given a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits and multiple warnings. Nismo up past Cyro. So what's happened to Cyro then? Cyro's lost it at turn 1. Gone a little bit too far right probably and spun it on the curbs. They can be dangerously deceiving as well. So Rayner already broken that second barrier that I was on about for DRS. He is now in seemingly control of this race for the time being. Puppy is given a 3-second time penalty. Once more, another driver exceeding enough times to be given a penalty. See gaps starting to form a little bit now as well down the pack. Alex just within that second of LH, but they are both on hard. So Reina will be putting away. Dan already up to P14 as Puppy. What's happened to Puppy? So Puppy has spun it this time. The other Renault finds himself in a spin, but this time he managed to keep all his wing together. Right on board then with Dan, who spun from the lead. So we see exchange of positions through to... Oh no, as what has Jack done there? Jack has gone too harshly into the braking zone, and he has collected Dragon, and they both spin at turn 12, and he almost takes out his... Oh my word. You can see Sara there hitting Jack on the restart, and they collide again then. Oh, how unfortunate for the Haas driver. That will be another stop. Real DC sets the fastest lap of the race then, chasing down the Haas in front of him. So you can just see there how important braking is at the right time. Jack just a little bit too late on the brakes, tapping Dragon on speed, and round they both went. That's dropped Dragon right down the pack to P15. But he is on those fresh mediums, having stopped once. So can he get to a two-stopper on the soft? It remains to be seen. Back at the front then, the gap hovering at about a second between Reina and his teammate, that guy Alex Antoon, both in close contention. The three behind your race leader, all on the harder tyres. Stead currently 2.2 seconds back on this group of three, but he is obviously on, as you can see, those medium tyres, so should have a little bit more speed advantage at the moment in time. You can see already 2 tenths gone as we come out into sector 3. We jump on board with Toonfan then at the back of this three-way battle as we come up towards the left-hander of turn 12. A little bit cautious on the braking from the Ferrari driver, and you can see the gap now 1.2 seconds towards Alex, and that will mean he won't have DRS. The Real DC up to P11 then, overtaking Stee through the back straights. We've got yellow flags once more. Who's that for? Who's gone around this time? As DRS opens itself up, Alex sets the fastest lap of the race then. I think that was Jack going round. No, Jack's coming down for there. So we see Apex and Jason into the pits. The Real DC moves up into 9th place. Tristan is given a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. A few drivers getting caught out by that this race then. Dragon 1:35.8. Expect that time to tumble though as we go down. You can see the Real DC all over the back of Gav as they come through turn 6. Expect to see a move then in towards turn 8 and 9 as we come out now. The Real DC should have DRS. He has a very good exit compared to the Williams driver, and already without DRS he is gaining, and he moves to the left hand side and gets the move done. But will he break in at time? Yes, looks like he has. So he gets that move done and moves up to P8. Next up on the road is Tristan. 2 seconds at that gap. What about once again at the front, that guy Alex now just 4 tenths behind LH, who is in turn 3 tenths behind Reina. So you can see from Alex's view that he's got the race leader in his sights. So started P20 already, got the lead in his sights just 8 laps into this Grand Prix. Further down the field, the gaps now starting to break a little bit more. Cesaro pitted for those softer compound tyres. Puppy makes a move on mono. That puts him up into P12. Toon being dropped a little bit by these front running trio. Alex had a great drive to win Monza last week. That enabled him to claim the FNR Silver Division title. He'll be looking to continue his good form, as we said, but unfortunately didn't make it past Q1. So started from the back good, but is already into the top podium playing positions thanks to a variety of overtakes, safety cars and strategy choices. Further down the grid, looking at the gaps, Toon being dropped by almost 3 seconds. We see a car once again, that's Cyro, spinning at turn 12. He's not having the best of races today in that Haas. I think a few words might be said to himself come the end of this, as Jack is the car in front of him. Back up to the front of the grid then as we come out of turn 11. We got yellow flags still out for Cyro. So will he stay out the way of these cars? I think he's diving into the pit lane then. Jack Blunt's given a 3-second time penalty coming out of turn 2. So on board with LH, chasing his teammate down, who leads this race by 2. Oh, and it's a very, very harsh braking from Reina there, and a little love tap from his teammate behind, but that's slowed him down and allowed Alex to have DRS and overspeed as they come down towards the braking zone of turn 1. Alex dives down the inside of LH and he gets that move done then, and he'll be now chasing Reina through these turns 2 and 3. LH dropping down, but LH will have that all-important double toe as they come down the first long straight of the lap. Dragon goes faster lap of the race. Toonfan is then given a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That would demote him to P5 should the race finish next lap, but we still have 17 laps to go. As we can see then, that got Alex all over the gearbox of Reina with DRS wide open in towards the braking zone of 8 and 9. Is he going to be brave enough on that brake pedal? Looks like he's a little bit too wide. Oh, Reina, you could see, lost the rear a little bit. That's allowed LH to come through. So Reina loses 2 positions, and that guy Alex takes the lead of this race. Started P20, remember, and he is now in the lead of this race, but he is yet to pit. But if he can get those tyres a few or more laps, he will be able to one stop. Bit of a lock up on the right front there. You see LH in front of his teammate Reina. Again on the harder compound tyres, whereas his teammate is on the medium. So this will be an interesting strategy battle between the two Mercedes as to who can come out on top. This battle's allowed Toonfan to close the gap by about 1.5 seconds. He now is just under 2 seconds. Stead chasing Toonfan though, 1.2. The gap's of 6/10 in that last few corners alone. Is he going to be close enough for DRS? I don't think so. As we come to lap 11 of this Grand Prix, Alex and LH have just taken P1 and 2 from Reina. What about further down the grid? So already DC up into P6 and he's been a bit of a quiet passenger since that spin under the safety car. He's pitted and he's up to P6. Remember, he pitted from mediums to mediums, so he will need to go onto the softer compound tyres towards the end when these mediums start to go off. How far up the grid can he get before that is needed? Nismo and Tristan battling just behind. Tristan on the harder compound, then Nismo, but he will have the DRS as they come round now into the first DRS zone out of turn 7. Apex moves up past Jason then into P14. Apex though is given a 3-second time penalty while making that overtake through the first corner. As you can see, Tristan a little bit too far back to make a move. Not brave enough on the brake pedal. But Nismo already, you could see on screen it was very wide through that. He took a lot of curbs, through that corner and punished by the stewards. Very, very brave move this looks to be from Tristan. He goes around the outside of turn 10. He thinks better off it. You don't want to collide with each other there, or one of you will end up with a wall and one of you will end up spinning through the asphalt. At the front of the grid, Alex has pulled out 1.5 seconds to LH then, so that move all important for him as he has pushed out quite a gap to driver behind Reina, just 4/10 behind LH, but Toonfan has closed in now as well, so he will have DRS on this final straight. Stead 1.4 seconds behind. This is glorious racing here at Le Castellet from FNR Silver Division. Reina up past LH then. I did say it'd be close. He makes the move through turn 1. Toonfan all over the back of LH as they come up towards turn 3. He dives down the inside and gets the move done. Good overtake, Toon. Go on, son. He splits the Mercedes then. But here is the all-important DRS zone. Reina 1.6 seconds will not have it. The two drivers behind Toon and LH will have it. Will Stead be close enough for his DRS? I don't think so. Here we go then, on board with Toonfan as he chases down Reina, but Reina looks a little bit too far up the road for him to consider making a move. As you can see, backs off a little bit too there. LH still remains behind Toonfan. All this time the real DC closing the gap, 5 seconds to him and Stead. Lap 12 of 27 then. 5 attempts Reina has managed to pull out of the lead of that guy Alex. as we see them come through the tight and twisty turn 12. Through the final few corners then, Alex, the gap now down to a second. Reina chasing hard. Come through to start lap 13. DRS opens for the Mercedes driver, as much as he can't make the overtake yet, as Toon drops back by a few tenths. Stead though in the background you can see eyeing up a move on LH as they come through turns 1 and 2. Toon fan giving another 3-second time penalty though, so that means he has got 6 seconds as far as I can remember. We're right on board with Stead through this little battle then. You can see the 4 cars in front of him. Not far up the road though is that guy Alex. You see just turning through turn 7 there at the top of your picture. On board with Stead at the back of this 5-way battle for the lead. Who is going to be close enough to make a move? None of these, I don't think, at this moment. LH dropping a little bit back though on Toonfan, 1.5 seconds now the gap. So he has made a little mistake. That has put Stead all over his gearbox. Reina a second behind Alex. Tristan down the inside of Nismo through the turn 7, through the turn 8 and 9 chicane, but Nismo looking very racy behind as Gavlar closes in on this. They're going too wide through turn 10. Is Tristan going to be brave on the throttle, or as Nismo takes a very, very sharp line, gets rid of that board, but he is through and past Tristan. What about Gavlar? Is he in a position to make a move? Looks down the inside of the racing point, but thinks better of it, looking to make view as Reina pits then. So Reina pits from P2, as does Stead. They're looking to go onto the harder compound tyres. That puts Toonfan into P2 and LH up to P3 then. DC, after pitting once already, is up to 4th. Can he get a gap on those medium compound tyres so that when he pits for the softs, he is in a competitive position for the podium? Where do Reina and Stead come out then? Reina coming out of the pit lane now. Looks like it will be in P9. So there we are, the racing, the Haas of Stee comes down the final corner. He's past Stead, but he's not in front of Reina. So Stead in at P11 after his stop. Reina in at P9. Dragon on speed after his early spin finds himself in at P8. Closing on the battle for what is P5 now. 4-way battle once more in this race. They all have DRS on Nismo. The gap between Nismo and Real DC up to 7 seconds now. Is Tristan going to be close enough to make a move into the braking zone? No, not this time. How do they come through this sequence of corners? It's still Nismo leading Tristan, Gavlar and Dragon on speed. It's Jason Woodhouse given another 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Not for the first time today a driver has been punished for that. Tristan all over the back of the Red Bull gearbox. He pulls to the left hand side of the corner. You can see on board with Gavlar how wide Tristan is going through that corner, and there's almost contact then. This forced Tristan a little bit wide through turn 11, and Gavlar looks to capitalise on that, but he's not close enough this time. What about Dragon? How close is Dragon to this overtake manoeuvre? He's a little bit too far back through turn 12, but it's all about building through to sector 1 of this Grand Prix, where you've got the 2 DRS zones that you can use to your advantage. Later on the brake pedal of Gavlar as he looks to move down the inside through turn 14, but Gavlar racy coming out of turn 15 as LH pits for medium sense. So LH is in for his only stop of the Grand Prix as he puts those medium tyre compound on. Dragon on speed, making a little look for a position as it goes a little bit wide. Gavlar, where does that put Dragon? Oh, he's very close as they approach turn 3. Will the Alfa Romeo be down the inside? Yes, he's got that move done. Taking a lot of curve to do it, but he is through up into P6. That puts Tristan in his crosshairs then. LH is given a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, so he's currently in P12 after that stop, but he will have a 3-second penalty come the end of this race. How will that affect the outcome? You can see there 4 cars back to back as they come down towards turn 8. Tristan looking to make a move down the inside of Nismo, but he's not too far back. Watch out for Stead there. You can see in the Alfa Romeo, that's Dragon, sorry, as they come out of that turn. All the while Gavlar is keeping up with this fight. brilliant battles. LH is past Puppy, then up into P11 and almost back into the points following his stop. Dragon up past Tristan on the inside of turn 10. We said he was looking racy following his spin, and he's now past Tristan. What about Nismo? What can Nismo do? He's now been dropped by a further 2 seconds by the real DCS. Toonfan is pits then. So Toonfan pits from P2 and will be putting on those medium compound tyres. That got Alex with it all to do now. He needs to pull out a big enough gap so that when he pits, he will not be as close to the other drivers as that. Alex given a 3-second time penalty while I say that, so he has also gone wide at turn 1, and the race leader is given a 3-second time penalty. Where does Toon come out then? He looks like it will be behind Rayner, but will it be in front of LH? You see Rayner going through there in P7, but Toonfan Stead is there. Swap out Stead and LH. Will the Ferrari driver make it down in front of LH? Yes, he will. So he is in turn 1. You can see at the foreground of the picture there. So LH losing out to Toonfan by going there. The undercut did not work. So Toonfan then just luckily managing to get ahead of Stay. But DRS will be approaching as Dragon on speed at the front of the pack goes past the Red Bull of Nismo through the DRS zone, and Gavlar likewise past Tristan. DRS a really important at this track, but Gavlar not as brave on the brakes as Tristan, who goes back up past him through turn 8. Will there be a tow for the Williams driver up towards turn 10 and 11? He moves to the right hand side, dives down the inside, and he is up through by, according to timesheet, for Tristan not afraid to go toe to toe and moves around the outside through turn 11, keeps hold of P5. You can see Dragon there, Nismo just behind him. It's all about whether Dragon can now pull away. They both need to pit again. Remember, Tristan and Gavlar are still exchanging positions through 14 and so through 13 into 14 now. And then the Williams will have DRS if he can get a good enough exit, but it looks, oh, the back end kicks out from the racing point then. So will the Williams be able to utilise the DRS into turn 1? As we've got yellow flags in sector 3 then. So Gavlar is down the inside but can't make the move stick. And he runs wide once more on the entry of turn 2. Jason, another 3-second top. LH is past Super Steer then. He is up back into the points following his pit stop. He will now be chasing Toon down, both having pitted. But Toon has a lap of fresher tyres. In front of them will be Stead. So Rayner, who was in that battle for the lead with Alex and Toon and LH, is in 7th. Alex yet to pit though. Currently his lead is 5 seconds to the real DC at the front of this pack. I can only imagine what his tyres are doing. They look a little bit grained from these pictures, but they look like they are still got some good life left in them. Dragon a further 10 seconds back in P3. He's dropped Nismo by almost a second and a half then, after again in front of that battle. As Jack pits from P16 then. Back on board with this battle for P5 with Gavlar and Tristan then. Tristan running a little bit wide on the entrance to turn 12, but Gavlar follows suit. It's a better exit from the racing point. The gap just 0.6 of a second. Who will blink first? Gavlar on those 2-lap old tyres compared to Tristan, but DRS keeping him going a long. Remember, they are the harder compound, so they can go more than the 16 and 14 laps respectively, but I won't expect it to be too long before they do start to die off. Look out for Rayner. He's a further second and a half back as LH goes fastest lap of the race, a 1:35.1 in the Mercedes. His gap to Toonfan just 0.5 of a second as Tristan is given a 3-second time penalty then for exceeding track limits. In sector 1, quite a lot of drivers running wide on turns 2 and I think turns 4 and 5 as well. So what about LH? Will he be able to make a move on the Ferrari driver as we come through turn 7 then? You'll see the DRS sign pop up in the right hand side. A little bit wide from the Ferrari, but he's got a good straight line speed as we approach turn 8 and 9. LH not close enough, again about 0.3 in that little straight, but it was not enough to be able to challenge Toon for what is P9 at this moment in time. Apex up past Puppy then for P12. Front of your Grand Prix then, Alex still leads the Real DC by 5 seconds. Dragon is a further 10 seconds back. The front cars starting to keep a similar distance throughout this race, not really gaining or losing to the cars. What you can see in the background there is the Renault of the Real DC on those 4-lap younger tyres. Remember, he spun under the safety car period and dropped from the lead to the back of the pack, having to replace his front wing. But if he can get those mediums going a few more laps, he will be on the softer compound. So will Alex if he can keep this rate up. Toonfan goes fastest lap of the Grand Prix then, 1:34.6, so sub 1:35 for the first time in this race. He needs all that tyre life he can get, as he's got a 9 seconds worth of penalties now as he goes wide once more at turn 2. As Gavlar and Rayner exchanging places for 6 and 7, the Mercedes driver going around the outside at turn 3. Next up, he will be chasing Tristan and Nismo. The gap between them two is just 5 tenths. Toonfan given another 3-second time penalty. What is going on, Toon? So here we go then, on board with Rayner, but Nismo leads this pack of cars. You can see Tristan looking to go around the outside in towards the chicane. Good defensive line there from Nismo, but he will be hopefully able to keep in front of Tristan, who goes to the left hand side through turn 10. Look at those 4 cars all within touching distance of each other. Tristan around the outside of Nismo through turn 10. Once again it falls a little bit wide through that corner into 11. It's a tight line. You see a car has gone off at turn 1. I believe that is Cyro. It is indeed Cyro, so he has gone wide again. It's a Real DC pits. So Dan is in for his second stop of the afternoon. What tyres will he go for? The gap to Alex was 5 seconds, and he fits the softs then. So Dragon moves up into P2, but will need to pit again. The Real DC on the softs in at third. What can Nismo do? Is he going to get out in front of the Renault driver? No. So it's not just him there. DC drops all the way down to 9th on those softer tyres. So he comes out behind LH then, and the battle for what is P8 with Toonfan. Remember, Toonfan does have those penalties though, so does LH. He has a 3-second penalty. Stee is in to get rid of those old hards. 7 laps to go in this Grand Prix. This is the battle for P8. Toonfan, LH and the Real DC on board with the Renault driver at the back of this pack, as my timing sign glitches and Stee apparently takes the lead of this race. Rayner up past Nismo then. So on board with the Dan as he looks to the left of LH44, and he gets that move done. So you see Rayner up past Nismo then. He moves up into P3. And we'll look to start and pull away from these drivers. Look at the tyre lives on the left hand side of your screen. Nismo and Tristan both have 16 lap old tyres. Gavlar has 18 laps, whereas Rayner after pitting is only 6 laps old. There we go. Timing realigns itself, and you can see that guy Alex now pits from the lead of this race. So remember, he was 5 seconds clear of the Real DC as Cyro retires from this session. So what has happened there? Has he hit the wall? We'll on board with Jack to find out. Where is the Haas car? There he is. So you can see the Haas of Cyro has hit the wall at turn 1, and he is out of this race. So we see Alex comes back out, and he is in the lead of this race. So Alex then manages to stay in front of Rayner, and on those softer tyres he will hopefully look to get away, but there is a virtual safety car then following Cyro's retirement at turn 1 and 2. Jason, another 5-second penalty, this time for speeding in the pit lane. So what does this do for the Grand Prix? Well, Nismo and Tristan and Gavlar, watch out for Stead in the Alfa Romeo. His laps up to 10 laps younger than all of theirs. As we see going out of turn 7, the drivers forming almost what is a formation lap in terms of thing. DRS enables as the VSC goes in. You can see in the background there is that the Real DC down the inside of Stead, who goes wide and gets a 3-second time penalty. So Stead is down into, who's that? That's a McLaren being lapped then. You can see how close this pack is at this moment in time. Toonfan up the inside of LH. On the restart, he moves up into P8. Instead, the big loser from that battle. You can see almost 5 or 6 cars in succession. That's Gavlar going wide as he comes out of turn 11. That puts the DLC down the inside. Gavlar, 3-second time penalty for that line. He took Stead. Will he make... Oh! And Gavlar spins it. So those tyres just didn't have the traction in them then, and he spins that car. Oh no, and the McLaren. And the McLaren is out of this race. Who's that? That is Mono. Oh, Mono. Poor Mono. He caught the spinning Williams of Gavlar, and he is out of this race. He was only in P16 after a few problems, but he is now out of this race. Will we see another safety car or VSC? We shall see. Who is that in the pit lane? So Gav does ditch those old hard compound tyres. You can see this battle for what is P3. You can see Tristan there going around the outside of Nismo as they come through turn 3. The real DC not far behind. Toonfan's given another 3-second time penalty. Nismo back up into third. This is a brilliant battle then for the final podium position as we approach just under 5 laps to go. Here we go then. DRS is enabled, remember, because it was only a VSC. Tristan pulls to the right hand side of Nismo. Will he be the first of cars to come through? You can see the DC getting ever closer to the outside of Nismo, as well as Nismo goes very, very wide and gets a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. So does the real DC then. He gets a 3-second time penalty. And Stead tries to come down the inside of the Renault and the Red Bull. You can see the real DC pulling through past Maxwell, and Stead looks down the inside of turn 10. No, Nismo stays in front this time, as Tristan's starting to pull away now from this little battle. Toonfan looking down the inside of the Alfa Romeo, gets that move done. LH runs a bit wide on the exit of 11. He stays in P8. What a lovely little battle we've got going on here. Driver at the front of this as Nismo runs wide once more. That allows Toon to look down the outside of turn 13. Oh no, and there's been contact and Toon's round. There's contact and Toon is round. He will need to pit anyway because he has no front wing. But that is very unfortunate for Toon, running very well in this race. What about Dragon up to P8 then? Looking to chase down that battle for what is P3. Who's that making a move? Is that LH down the inside of Nismo? It is, so he gets the move done into turn 1. Real DC all over the back of Tristan's Racing Point. Here we go then through turn 4. Watch out for the Renault on the exit before the DRS even goes. Remember, he's on the soft duck compound tyres. Alex has pulled out a 5.9 second gap then to Rayner and is in complete control of this race. You'd assume Apex up past Toon into the points then after Toon has pitted. So DC, DRS opens, he pulls to the left hand side and makes a move then down the inside of Tristan. Dan moves up onto that final step of the podium. His gap to Rayner now just 3 seconds. Steve given a time penalty. LH is up past Stead then. What about Nismo? Can Nismo keep in control with these drivers? His tyres up to 10 laps older than those around him. He's got Dragon just 2 seconds behind him. So we see Alex there at the front of this Grand Prix. The gap now 6 seconds as we on lap 23 of 27. Started on the back of the grid. Remember what a drive this has been so far from your champion. Truly deserving throughout this season, especially on days like today. Rayner on those harder tyres, 6 second back. He's got a 3-second buffer to the Renault of Dan, Tristan and LH. Stead all within DRS distance of the car in front. But that gap now, you can see Tristan will have had DRS, but he is out of a second gap because those softer tyres are enabling Dan to pull away. So this becomes a battle for 4th place. Tristan, 20 lap old hards. What a stint he's done on those boys. LH in P5 has 11 lap younger tyres, 3 tenths back. Steady further 1.5 seconds behind. Nismo seemingly dropping 3 tenths through that sequence of corners. So we'll jump on board with LH as we come through turn 7 onto the back straight. Toonfan up into P12 then. A little bit wide from the Mercedes driver as the back end kicks out, but DRS opens. You can see fading on the tyres. He pulls, not a move this time then for LH, and he makes the corner. Tristan seems to struggle a little bit under braking on those harder compound tyres. So here we go. LH got the traction as we come up towards turn 10. but there are better places to make the move, as he looks like he has chosen there. Nismo now dropping back behind Stead. He's got the sister Alfa Romeo of Dragon all over the back of him. Dragon looks down the inside of 11, but not this time, thinks better of it and drops a little bit on the brakes, but he will seemingly have the run of Nismo as they come through turn 13 and 14. He stays wide to enable him to come around the outside of 14. And he's forced off the track there by Nismo. Been a bit of a elbows out move there from Nismo. Not sure what the stewards would have to say about that, but luckily no damage for either driver. So Dragon has the DRS as Alex sets the fastest lap of the race yet again on those soft tyres. His gap now 8.8 seconds to Rayner behind him. Dan in third place, 2.8 seconds the gap between him and Rayner for P2. He's got 2 laps to close that gap down. Yeah, we go then. What about LH? Is he going to make a move on Tristan this lap as they come through turn 7? He's all over the gearbox of that Racing Point. Has got the better exit. Seemingly this will be LH moving up into P4. Can he make the move stick though? It looks like he can. Yes, he's down the inside into turn 8. Who's that in the back there? That's Dragon getting through past Nismo. We expected that with those difference in tyres. What about C and Toon fighting for what is P12? A bit unfortunate for Toon. He got a little bit of contact, spun him out of that battle for P4, and he is now in P13. As he loses a lot of the back end there through going on the curbs. So this is your race leader then on lap 25 of 27, about to start his penultimate lap of the race. Started P20. Rayner was your pole sitter. He's a further 9 seconds now, as you can see, between him and the leader. What about Dan? It's so important as to whether he can catch Rayner. You see him just in the front of him there, 2.6 seconds the gap. He's got just over 7.8 kilometers, 7.8 miles to cover and catch that Mercedes. He splits them at the moment. LH is just behind them. You can see the battle for P5 between Stead and Tristan, both on the harder tyres, but Tristan's a lot older than Stead, whose teammate is 3.5 seconds behind him. So where will these drivers all finish? Some brilliant battles down as Toon fans back down the past Super Steed then. Once again, it has drivers as Toon is given another 3-second time penalty. Stead makes a move, looking down the inside of Tristan, outside through turn 7. He looks to make it stick and he's round then, but Tristan will have the DRS. But is there going to be enough traction in those harder compound tyres? He looks down the inside then in towards turn 8, and he gets just not enough grip under those tyres to stay in front of Stead. So Stead up to P5 then as Dragon on speed can see them just about in front of him. 10 seconds now the gap at the front of this race. Really supreme drive from Alex. DC 2.2 seconds back. Seemingly looks like he's going to run out of time to catch Rayner in front of him then. Here we go then, Alex about to start his last lap of the Grand Prix. 10 seconds clear of Rayner in P2. Seemingly all but his race win. We ride through now. The real DC not in touching distance of Rayner as yet. We're on the final lap of what has been a quite intriguing Grand Prix here at Le Castellet. That guy Alex leads after starting in P20. Rayner started on pole, he's P2. DC started in P3 and he is P3. Remember, he was leading this Grand Prix at one point, but spun under the safety car that was brought out by a combination of the Maverick and Regan. Devil's Nightmare spinning out very early on. Cyro involved in an accident at turn 1, and Mono unfortunately being caught up in a collision with the spinning Williams of Gavlar then. As we look now, the closest battle on track is this one for P6, but also watch out for LH and the real DC. No, he's not close enough this time then. So remember, there will be time penalties involved in this race, but I don't think Alex has accumulated any. So Rayner as well likewise hasn't got any penalties. Dan has a 3 seconds. I think LH has 3 seconds. Tristan has 3 seconds. Dragon might have some, I don't know. Remember, without bringing up the race director, I am unsure, but will jump on board with the Racing Point of Alex. Then he comes around turn 15 through the final corner and puts his pedal to the floor. You can see him there. He knows that he is about to cross the line, and your champion Alex wins then here in Le Castellet. He takes the victory after starting from the back row of the grid. He will stand atop the podium with a gleaming look on his face. Reina crosses the line in P2. DC manages to keep hold of that P3. He finishes ahead of LH. Dragon jumps to P5 thanks to penalty stead. Alongside him in the Alfa Romeo, Tristan in P7 and 24 laps on those harder tyres. Congratulations to him for that stint. Nismo in P8. Come on, puppy, you can do it. Through the last few corners, he comes round the corner. Is his penalty system going to be enough to keep him in the points? We shall see. He crossed the line in 9th, but he's given the penalties. Apex overtakes him into 9th then. Puppy. Gavlar takes the final points playing position. He goes into P10. Toonfan is a P12. What about Jason and Steve? We wait for them to cross the line and finish what has been a brilliant race here in France. I very much enjoyed commentating on this one. So we see Jason come across the line then. He crosses the line in P13 but will be 14th after penalty. Steve finishes in 13th then. So your race winner today and taking those 26 points for win and fast lap will be the Racing Point of that guy Alex. Already into P11 by the end of lap 1. Fought his way through to the grid and managed to stop his way to victory. Reina on the left in P2 started on pole and did very well to stay up front. No real trouble from him. The real DC, unfortunate for him to spin under the safety car, but he fought his way back up as well, going from 17th at the time of the stop to P3. Managed to hold off LH in those final stages. LH up to 7th, following up to 4th after starting in P11. 7 places he gained. So there you have it. That is FNR Silver done and dusted for another week. Congratulations to Alex, Reina and Dan, and we hope you will tune in next week. Thank you very much for joining us here at RRC. Please find more information about us on Facebook, Instagram and our YouTube channel, where we stream all 6 of our races across the 6 league nights. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll be back with you on next Wednesday for WNR.